Good morning and welcome to day 5 of the European Championships here in Munich. We've had so many sunny days, and around about 4 p.m. yesterday local time the heavens opened. We had to delay the start to the evening session with some really heavy rain and lightning. The organisers quite rightly just delaying things by around about half an hour to give all of our athletes the best chance of performance, particularly with the elements like the men's hammer throw, women's long jump over there on the right hand side of the screen. They were pretty exposed. But in the end, we had another brilliant night of athletics. Everyone was looking to Malika Mahambo of Germany to take the long jump title. That was the big story everyone was waiting to write. But instead, it was Constanze Klosterhalfen who powered through and took a gold in the 5K. Mahambo having to give way to Ivana Vuleta of Serbia in the women's long jump. But it's a bit cooler this morning. There is some drizzle. And I don't think that's very good baton exchanging conditions. We were discussing that on our walk in. It's a bit wet, it's a bit cold. That could cause some issues for our relay heats we've got going on this morning. But it doesn't seem to have dampened the spirits of the locals. There's some patriotic clothing going on there. Pretty sure they're supporting Germany. That guy's here for some Italian superstars. That men's 4x100 are the Olympic champions. Can they navigate the heats today? So myself, Hannah England, Phil Minchell and Alex Seftel will be bringing you all the action this morning. Phil and Alex, anything particularly you're looking forward to in this morning's session?
Well, in this morning's session, we've obviously got the women's high jump, and we've got the 3 Ukrainian athletes in contention. We've got the world indoor champion Yaroslava Mauchik, and of course she's a 2-time world championship silver medalist. And we all know the situation in Ukraine, and they've been scattered across Europe trying to hold their lives together, worried about their families back home, and at the same time trying to continue their careers as professional athletes. In that women's qualifying as well, her compatriots Irina Herashenko and Yulia Levchenko. So we're going to really be empathizing with them, and I think any neutrals, of course, wonderfully educated group of fans here in this Olympic stadium, but we can certainly empathize with their situation. I think all the neutrals will be wishing them the best.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to, first of all, this morning with the men's javelin. You've got another home favourite with Thomas Rohler, the Olympic and European champion, but he'll face some good battles with the likes of the Czechs, who did really well at a tricky Olympic Games with tough conditions where many of the throwers found it difficult. Vítězslav Veselý and Jakub Vadlec. So we see some athletes arriving this morning, some with their javelins, some without, and yes, to be honest, damp conditions last night that didn't seem to dampen the atmosphere.
It's good to see the Italian team having warm up. They are the Olympic champions. They did manage to retain that title at the World Champs, and we did hear a rumour that we thought Le Mans Marcel Jacobs might be struggling this morning. Looks all right with that walk-through drill there. Here's some of the French team doing it on a run as well. This is for they can get used to each other's voices. They're practicing that hand position, exactly what their preference will be when they come into the race.
And they've got the reserves in there as well, just in case there's a late change needed. So you can see all 6 men in the Dutch team, and you saw, I think it was 8 women in the French squad there. That's a bit of a sloppy handover, isn't it?
You can see they're just, there we go, a little bit faster from the Spanish team. They'll start slow like that in a walking drill, and then they'll build it up to a bit of a run. The 4x100 is so technical, as is the high jump, of course. We saw pretty wet conditions in the men's high jump yesterday. Gianmarco Tamberi managing to come out on top despite the tricky conditions. Yaroslava Mauchik will be doing her very best to do the same. Vela Tudgari of Italy might hope to make it a double gold for her nation. She's having a great season.
Yes, Vela Tudgari is coming back after a couple of years of injury and other problems. I mean, she really broke onto the stage a few years ago when she cleared 2:01 at the London Diamond League meeting. Seemed to disappear off the radar for a long time and has now come back and is really jumping well. As you can also see, 2 women I mentioned a little bit earlier, Herashenko, and this is Levchenko. just going through some drills undercover nearby, just staying warm.
Keely Hodgkinson and her coach Trevor Painter making their way down to the track. Keely looked pretty comfortable in qualification yesterday, as did Ronelle Lamotte. It's interesting to see that indoor warm-up area, some of the athletes choosing to use that. It's not cold here in Munich, but it is wet. So the athletes just using their preference, whether they'd rather be indoors and outdoors. Pretty stuffy indoors. Gemma Riki looked great in qualification yesterday as well. She's just building back from a bout of glandular fever earlier this year. Does look better with every week that goes past. So to have the 2nd and 4th places from last year's Olympics competing in these women's semi-finals could be nail-biting.
So the first event to get underway will be men's javelin throw qualification, and also slightly slippy conditions on that runway potentially. We will have 2 groups, with the first expect to start in around 4 minutes time. The automatic qualification distance that will get you through to that final will be 83 meters and 50. 14 men are over that in Europe this year, and 13 are eligible for the competition. And then on the track we have the heats of the men's 4x100 meter relay. That's Jeremiah Azu. He got an individual medal, of course, in the 100 meters. Interesting to see how many athletes return, just how many changes there'll be, with maybe some substitutions coming in place for that final. Incidentally, I had a look at the women's 4x1 and saw that Gina Lukenkemper isn't there. Just wonder whether she'll be fit to return for the final. I feel like she won't take part in the competition further after that nasty cut to her knee that she sustained after falling at the end of what was a really dramatic race. But great to see a home hero win gold. So we've seen these athletes running through their warm-up drills. This is Israel Olatunde. So he broke the Irish national record. Paul Hessian was 10:18. Olatunde, he ran 10.19, then 10.12. He was just skirting around it, but in doing so built up so much excitement to when he finally did it in the final, just outside the medals, but huge achievement for the young man. And then Rashida Adeleke then, of course, ran a 400 meter national record of 50.5 in her final. So it's been a good championship so far for the Irish sprinters. And just having a look at who else is in this. Netherlands, Tamir Burnett looked impressive in qualification for the 200 meters. Jeremiah Azu, someone who is only 21 years old. He was asked to choose between football and athletics by his coach, Helen James. Seems to have done well with sticking with athletics, winning the British title. Not selected for the World Championships, though. However, getting the opportunity to shine here. The Ukrainians, well, we just touched on the tough nature of trying to find a base for them, and the difficulty of the war that's ongoing, and trying to find peace of mind, and maybe some of the athletes focusing on athletics one way to just take their mind off the awful situation that's going on. The Ukrainian 4x1 team have been training at Cardiff in the UK. They have, as you can see there, Smelik, Kovalenko, Prikodko and Vasiliev. Over to the Swiss team, William Race. We saw him yesterday in the 200 meters, led off though by Pascal Mancini, the 33-year-old, who has a new 100 lifetime best this year. And then Svensson, the former Swedish champion, who's just gained his eligibility to switch over to Swiss colours. Here is the Spanish quartet with Calero, Montalvo, Gomez and Lopez. Again with a couple of names that they might choose to bring in, like Paul Retamal, who was in the 200. Great Britain and Northern Ireland go from lane 5 with Azu leading them off. The very experienced Harry Akins-Ariti, Jonah Efoloku, who's come into the team this year mainly as the lead-off runner. So suddenly, over a few months, he's gained quite a bit more experience. Tommy Randan on the last leg. The Greek team with Zikos, Brontinos, Chivizas and Nifantopoulos. So they'll go from lane 4. The Czech Republic, they have Stronsik, Polak, Jirka and Kolarz. They'll go from lane 3. Interestingly, that Ireland had chosen to put their fastest runner, Israel Olatunde, on the first leg to try and build a bit of an advantage. No Marcus Lawler, who was in the 200 heats yesterday. They've got Ojibwumi, Doyle and Smith. And then Afrifa, Burnett, Van Gool and Rafael Buju, the former European under-18 champion for the Netherlands then. Right on the inside in lane 1. So just the 2 heats, and it'll be the first 3 in each, and then 2-time qualifiers advancing to the final. Pretty simple maths there, 3 + 3 plus another 2 equals 8. Those are the lanes on the track. From the inside, Netherlands, Ireland, Czech Republic, Greece, Great Britain and Northern Ireland, Spain, Switzerland and Ukraine. So, reasonably early start for these relay runners. They've been through their paces, done their drills. Can they get the baton round safely? Olatunde goes off nicely for Ireland. They'll be hoping for him to really make a mark on this opening leg. So we have a look at the first set of changeovers. Reasonably clean. Netherlands also going well on the inside. Harry Akins-Ariti. Someone, as I say, with a lot of experience in winning major international medals. Trusted again here. So, Great Britain and Switzerland. With the Brits a bit of a sluggish changeover there. Let's have a look down this home straight, though. Great Britain, Northern Ireland, from Buju of the Netherlands and Switzerland. Those are the 3 who make it through to that final. And reasonably clear picture there as they came through. Well, in fact, often in a relay you say first, second and third across the line. And then we wait to see the official results. 38.41 the time for Great Britain. So around a second off their fastest time for the year, but not the strongest quartet. There's a number of athletes that could come in, including the likes of Zarnell Hughes, the 2018 100 champion. Nathaniel Mitchell-Blake as well competing here. And he also has individual focus as well. We can see there Netherlands and Switzerland with the capital Qs, Greece and Spain, so they'll have to wait to see if their times will be good enough.
Yes, for Great Britain and Northern Ireland, it was just a case of getting qualification through to the final, as you were saying, Alex. A number of good runners to come in, number of runners who have probably got over the years good credentials, European and World Championship medals to their name. The changeovers by Britain and Northern Ireland, I'm sure we'll see on the replay, not super sharp, but solid, and it got the baton round because over the years, the calamities that have befallen British teams in the 4x100 metres, well, it's a very long list. Yes, over the years, there's been some fantastic triumphs as well. Everybody remembers the 2004 Olympic Games 4x100 metres. It was just a basically good outing from Britain. It was a solid day at the office. The difference being is, if you look at Switzerland on the inside, no stars at all on their team, but incredibly well drilled. That shows the benefit of actually just getting out there day after day and getting used to your teammates. In the case of the British, it's really much a makeshift squad because there's going to be other people coming in. But in the case of the Swiss, it's going to be the same formation, I would imagine, for the final. And they know each other very, very well. And of course, the Dutch, well, always a strong contender at the relays. They have good strength in depth. And it was those 3 teams that go through. Perhaps a little bit disappointing from the Spanish. I think the Spanish were hoping to get probably a bit closer to 39 seconds in the qualifying places. But they've still got an opportunity of getting through the back door as a non-automatic qualifier.
Yeah, so of course we've got two of the medalists from Berlin, Great Britain, who won gold, and the Netherlands, who won bronze. But yeah, a few changes in those quartets, including Brunet, though he was part of the team who set a national record for the Dutch in coming home bronze. Who was between them in silver? Well, that was the Turks. You can see just passing through there. And they have a decent team, the likes of Ramil Puliev, 2018 200 champion. Let's cross, though, to the Javelin. Tonni Kusala of Finland. 84-metre throw this year, but as ever, only the third best in Finland. Such is their strength in depth. Wearing the lumbar support there. Kusala in this opening round. As I say, that yellow mark you can see there is 83.50. Kusala looking a little bit disappointed. So tough to get finish selection for major championships. He did that at the Olympic Games. Of course, it is quite an explosive event on the body, particularly on the shoulder area. You can see the tape he's got over there. Oliver Halander has been someone who's threatened to be a real contender at major championships, but has struggled with injury. And we've had the retirement of Tero Pitkämäki and Antti Ruskinen, who prior to Wilma Murty winning the pole vault was Finland's last gold medalist at these championships in Zurich in 2014. So they are really trying to find someone who can be a top contender. Did win the European under-18 gold in the men's and women's event. So we'll keep our eyes peeled on how the javelin qualification develops. Now, though, to the second heat of the men's 4x100-metre relay. Well, it's interesting, Hannah. Obviously, we saw some changes to some of the quartets there. There is a bit of a balance between allowing fresh legs to come in, but also, if the same athletes get two runs, they might actually develop as a team.
Absolutely. And we saw with the Swiss team, Phil saying, if you haven't necessarily got the superstars individually, then they can be very well drilled, they can be very familiar with each other. Some other nations, if they've got some big hitters like Great Britain and even France, great to see Jimmy Vico down there in this heat, they have to be a bit more versatile. And they have to be able to kind of roll with the punches, because people might get injuries and this, that and the other as they pursue their individual goals. So I think it's ultimately you see some of the more accomplished nations like France and Italy and maybe Great Britain being more flexible and maybe playing it safe on their changeovers as well. Now, when you've got an unfamiliar squad together in a heat, very much saw that with Great Britain, just set off a little bit slower, a little bit later. You do lose time doing that, but you would give yourself a larger chance of getting the baton round and then bring in your big hitters that are more familiar with their changeovers into the final. So Denmark will go on the outside here. You can see the Greek team among those waiting. They finished fourth in the opening heats. So Clausen, Shu Nielsen, Larsen and Kamanga Durbach. A developing team who set a national record last year. Then the Germans with Kevin Kranz, Hartmann, Anser and Anser Pepra, the last two no relation, but Anser Pepra, another who looked impressive in the 100, even if it was a stacked lineup for that final. And alongside them will be the French. Got the two Zeze brothers, Neba Michael and Ryan. Matteo and then Vico to bring them home. Just like old times. 10.1 this year, his fastest time, the former European record holder. Robin van der Bemden. Well, he's been part of 4x4 relays on many occasions, but competing individually over the 200 here. Merckx, Van Huisstraten and Vlemix. And then Kopec, Slovikovski, Vikrotte and Suda for Poland. And then this Turkish team with Emre Zafer Barnes, Jacques Ali Harvey, Kayhan Özcan, and Emre Özcan. So Barnes and Harvey both part of that silver medal winning quartet from 4 years ago. The Finns, well, they set a national record in Berlin 4 years ago, and Samuli Samuelsson has done that individually, breaking a 21-year-old mark. Samuel Porola
Also one who's risen through the junior ranks, winning medals along the way. And then the Olympic champions, Italy, with Lorenzo Pata, so he's the only one from that quartet who ran in Tokyo. Polanco Rijo, Meluzzo and Chituru Ali, who we've seen compete individually as well. So they can bring in Filippo Tortu. As Hannah mentioned, we did hear that there may have been an issue in the warm-up for the Marcel Jacobs, individual 100 winner. But that may not affect their ability to qualify while we wait for more of an update on that. The Italians will go in lane 1, 38.74 this year. Turkish can match that. French and the German quartet have beaten that this year. And Finland, Turkey, Poland, Belgium, France, Germany and Denmark on the outside. So big roar, particularly to get those Germans underway. Kevin Krantz has started nicely and gets ready to hand that baton over. Very clean changeover, but look at the acceleration from the French with Matteo. With Poland also going nicely from lane 4. So top 3 making it through automatically to that final. And look at the Germans, one changeover to go then, and looking nicely. Answer just points his finger and urges his teammate to go, and he does just that. It's Germany from France and Poland. Once again, pretty clear to identify. 37.97 there. So faster than the British quartet by best part of half a second. As we have a look to confirm who will qualify. Italians a little way down on where they'd hoped to be, certainly. It's come up as a national record for the Germans. So, terrific stuff here at home in the Olympiastadion in Munich. It's only taken 200ths off their best ever time of 37.99. France 38.17, 2/10 behind. So they are also quicker than the Brits. And then we can see there, Belgium have qualified along with Italy, just a 10th ahead of the Greeks from that first heat. So the Italians, maybe with a bit to work on, be keen to look closely at them when we see the replay.
That's what you, on the instant analysis, I hope that's not these two men, Ali and his teammate, thinking they perhaps didn't have a smooth change. Often when you see an instant kind of analysis like that, I wonder if they're wondering if they managed to stay within the changeover zone. Good discipline from the Flemish team to make the final in Italy. Let's hope they can get them on Marcel Jacobs back if they do have indeed managed to qualify for this final.
Nevertheless, at the sharp end of this race, it's some excellent changeovers from the Germans. The Germans really looking very, very slick indeed. And even if Britain do bring in the likes of Zarnell Hughes, the Germans are really going to be challenging, I think, subject to them being able to repeat such nice changeovers in the final. But anytime you run under 38 seconds in the heat, you've got to be a serious contender for a gold at this level. The French changeovers a little bit more ragged from just looking at what was going on out there, especially helped by the replay. Nevertheless, the French certainly have a little bit of room to spare as well.
Yeah, so the Germans breaking the national record, actually only recently set in Regensburg in June, 37.99. So could be pretty close come that final. Turkey were 100 faster than that in Berlin in 2018. That's where they set their national record. Samuel Plora of Finland here. Still wearing that Lucky Charm cap. Finland 6th in heat number 2. Denmark and Ireland both failing to finish. We'll keep an eye in case that result changes, but at the moment, looking like we have our qualifiers through for the men's 4x100 metre final. Of course, we'll have all sets of relay heats as part of this morning's session.
And just looking back, it's been since 1962. That was the last time a German quartet won a European 4x100 metres title. Men's, I should say.
And there are the teams that will make up that final, as you can see. And showing there that Greece have squeezed in. And, well, that's the full results. As you can see there, two teams failing to finish, Denmark and Ireland. Right, OK, back to the javelin. This is qualification Group A.
I love Ramos of Portugal. Sometimes we get a cartwheel at the end of his throw. There we go. Thank you very much, Mr. Ramos. Love watching him throw. He's a very good thrower as well. He's not just he's not just notable for his exploits at the end of the runway.
Yes, so just 21 years of age, European under-23 silver medalist and Euro-American champion. You can see there just short of 70 metres. So no throws over 80 just at this point. It is only qualification. Just looking back, 79.74 was needed to make the final 4 years ago. So things just starting to warm up in this javelin qualification. 69.39 there for Ramos. Strobinders just falls below the line there. But that is a better effort. We're very close between the three Latvians over the last few years. Patrick Galums and Roland Strobinders in this, and then Gatis Kats will go in the second group, which, by the way, is going to get going in an hour's time. Jakub Vavlec will also be in that group. Strobinders just waiting for this measurement to come up. 77.33. Let's have a look here. So Denmark and France, that's where the Danish dropped the baton. So unfortunate for them.
Would have been a tall order for them to qualify anyway, but still not the way you want to finish your heat.
Patrick Galums, so he's made the best part of 2 metres improvement this year. 83.65, that new lifetime best for the Latvian. Not that much speed on the runway, but then throws nicely. So that number 2 mark, 79.26. Really pushes all the way through that point. After converting that energy built up down the runway. So Galums in this opening round. Let's have a look. 77.55. So only Kusala has bettered that so far.
This is tough for the javelin throwers qualifying at this time of the morning. Obviously, it's cool conditions out there, cooler than it's been at any day this week so far, and it's an early start as well.
Thomas Rohler, 2016 Olympic champion, 2018 European champion. And in that same year, he was part of the first ever competition where 3 men were over 90 metres, along with his teammates Johannes Vetter and Andreas Hoffmann. The world standard has ultimately dwindled a little since then, but such is the high bar they set. It was always going to be hard to match that. So here comes Thomas Rohler. Let's see what he can do with his opening throw in qualification. So that is over 70 metres, goes off to the left a little. Did appear to be a bit tentative on the runway there. Rohler, who's also a very good meeting organiser as well in his home country in Germany here. And that was very close to the line, wasn't it? And just wonder whether that will be a valid attempt. No, didn't think so. But just over the line there. can see the Finns wanting to get a good position by the javelin, but what about this excellent Czech tradition? Always seem to find a way to get on the podium. Vítězslav Veselý, now 39 years of age, the Olympic, world and European medalist. Won this title in Helsinki in 2012 to upset the home faithful. Veselý just looks down, manages to block and come to a dead stop before that line. So Veselý, this could be the best throw that we've seen so far. Nice to get the slow-mo. Javelin finds its spot in the field. 79.27, so leads qualification so far. This is his teammate Jakub Vadlec. Oh no, it's Konecki. Apologies, so Martin Konecny. Bit of space there left to attack. But another decent throw over 75 meters, so becoming a little bit congested on the results table. It's another valid attempt. We've got Veselý over 79 meters, and then 7 men over 76.
I'll tell you what, I'm genuinely surprised that nobody, even though we're at the relatively early stages of this qualifying competition, has thrown over 80 meters yet. I think that's possibly indication of the fact that this is going to be quite a tough qualifying competition and an evenly matched one, because it is, as I was saying just a moment ago, quite chilly now. Even over the course of the last half an hour, I've been putting my sweater on and it's started to get rather cool. Haven't checked yet what the temperature is.
Toni Kusela, second round. Looking disappointed, so it's 18 degrees at the moment. Still high in terms of humidity and 20% chance of rain. I often think around 20% chance of rain usually means there will be some rain, but a low amount. Whereas anything around 10% means it's very unlikely.
A wet ground when you're hurling yourself at that takeoff line, well, not takeoff line, they do sometimes take off, but you're trying to slam the brakes on before the line is just tricky enough anyway. But if it's slipping slightly, the men, they will have more spikes on the bottom of their shoes than the runners will do. Those spikes the whole way through, helping them stop, but still having the confidence in the ground when it's a little bit slippy. It's going to be hard for those men.
Well, we've had 2 rounds of the men's 4x100 meters qualifiers, and now it's the turn of the women. Same as before, first 3 to go through as of right. 2 fastest non-automatic qualifiers. There's the Swedish quartet of Henriksson, Busk, Sveinart, and I think there's been a bit of a change in the draws. So there's the Belgians, and Bruyck, Poinet, Foucault and Laos. Great Britain, Northern Ireland, Asher Phillip in there.
Auf der Bahn 5 das Team Dänemark, Team Denmark with Relive winner Mette Gnadersgaard. In lane 4 auf Bahn 4 sagen wir Hallo an
And the good Spanish team of Molina Prados, Bestui, Sevilla and Maria Perez, the Spanish record holder at 100 meters. And they're inside Valhuber, Wally, who we've seen in the 100 and 200 meters, Lindner and Presler. Italians, Dosso, Hooper, Bongiorni and Pavesi. We've seen stronger Italian quartets in their time, just wondering whether they've got the capacity to go through. And the Greeks, Michelidou, Pesaridou, Anastiu and Spanudaki Chatsarigi. So Great Britain, Northern Ireland, the defending champions from Berlin. Asher Phillip, the lead-off runner, and she hands over to Imani Lanzaco. Bianca Williams with team captain Ashley Nielsen on the anchor leg. Great Britain, Northern Ireland, very much the favourites for this race. It could be a real battle for the other two automatic qualifying spots. And Asher Philip away very, very quickly. She's already managing to take it, the stagger against the Belgian. Now it's Imani Lansiko running the long back leg. And it's a good clean changeover as well between the two Britons. And the Britons have quite a significant lead now. Showing well on their outside, Belgium and Sweden. All Britain need now is a safe changeover, and they've got it. So Ashley Nielsen bringing Britain home. Coming up quickly on their inside, Denmark with Glenna Franstead. But it's Great Britain not really needing to get out of second gear. The Danes running well, and also Spain on the inside. Maria Perez making up for a slightly disappointing 100 metres. Great Britain, Northern Ireland, 42.83. Solid performance rather than spectacular for Britain, but they got the job done and got through to tomorrow's final. Spain also qualified as of right. Italy.
Spanish team carrying on where they left off at the World Championships. They were great there. You talk about team being better than their separate parts. Spain are certainly one of those. Season's best for Belgium as well. To sit and wait to see whether themselves and Sweden with those times will be fast enough for non-automatic qualifying. Great to see Asher Philip, Great Britain, on that lead leg. She had to skip the individual event. She contracted COVID, and I wasn't sure whether she was even going to be here. We've stayed in Munich or whether that was the end of her championships and her season, but good to see Asher Philip back here as part of the relay squad. Like with the men's team for Great Britain and Northern Ireland, fairly safe handovers. The Spanish team are very well drilled. We talked about these teams that can have a consistent lineup and they can practice those handovers again and again. Great final leg from Spain. Ultimately, Ashley Nielsen holding on for the win, but Italy looking really technically good as well. See the discipline there from Ashley Nielsen. This is the name of the game. You've got to put your hand out and trust that your teammate is going to give the baton to you. You don't want to be looking around and slowing down. Good performance all round, and I'm really impressed. Given the early morning, the cold weather conditions, just that one drop baton so far from Denmark in the heat 2 of the men's race. And we haven't seen any disqualifications yet. The judges will go back and look at everything with a fine-tooth comb to ensure that the baton was handed over within the changeover zone.
Raises the question as to whether Britain should even risk bringing in Dina Asher-Smith. Of course, she's got the 200-metre final to come, but given the fact that she's had some injury and cramp problems, I'm wondering whether they're also going to bring in Daryl Neater. I would imagine that they will.
Yeah, it's always, like we said, it's that toss-up between people that are very used to doing handovers and can read each other's speed. You need to look back at the athlete and go, are they on their top form? Do I take off exactly on my mark? Or you usually do unless something's gone drastically wrong. There's lots of minor calculations that are a lot easier if you're very familiar with that handoff pairing.
So, Marie-Laurence Jungfleisch, the bronze medalist 4 years ago in Berlin, looking to try and get on the podium once again. Very good German, seems to have been around for ages. Nicely done at 183. A lot of the women coming in at 178, much lower than they would normally do at a one-day meeting like the Diamond League. I think some of them are just using these lower heights as a warm-up in effect, and that certainly was the impression that Marie-Laurence Jungfleisch gave with that effort. She's the first woman over in this group at 1.83. This is Daniela Stancio. Not the quickest on the run-up, just rather hesitant taking off, but gets over.
I also wonder, Phil, with these early entrances at the lower heights than what we'd expect from their season's bests, could be to do with sitting around all week as well. They've watched their teammates go and start competing, and it can suddenly feel like a lifetime. You're used to travelling around, going home, going to training, getting on a plane, going to a meet. and suddenly you've been sat in a team hotel for 4 or 5 days as everybody else has got their chance to go and perform. So I think you might like to ease your way into the competition.
There's something to do with that. Let's just have a look and see whether there is any. That looks like the Danes were changing over outside of the zone. Is it the Spanish as well? No, the Spanish are solid. Yeah, the Danes are all over the place there. Not so great from the Danes.
You can see that yellow tick on the ground. That's the area that they have to hand over in between. Here's the Danish team. I think they're having a look at the javelin rather than that 4x100 metres, because Patterson's ready to throw.
Yes, here is Arthur Pedersen then in the javelin then. Second round. Needs to try and get a measurement in. Falling to the ground in these fairly tough, slippery conditions. Just having a look to see whether it is maybe starting to rain again. I don't think so. It's just quite a lot of moisture in the air. Wind is swirling about a bit. Nicely executed from Pedersen. And he does at least get a valid measurement in, even if it does go off to the right-hand side. 79.90 this year for the Dane, 71.51. So at this point, that is 11th out of 12 in this group. Thomas Rohler, though, only 70.66 to start with. Everyone has thrown further. So Rohler just drifting off to the left a little with his run-up. And the javelin coming down just over 70 meters, so struggling a little here. So we talked about the fact that it's slippy. I remember over the last couple of years, some of the tracks have made it difficult in terms of the surface, with some of the better throws, some of the faster throws struggling to slow down. So I don't know what the issue is with Rohler. We know that this track isn't quite the same surface as we've had in Tokyo and Eugene, for example.
I remember Rohler and Vetter both, I think, but certainly Vetter, Johannes Vetter, struggling in Gateshead. It was wet there, and they're saying sort of these older tracks. And we've said that here about this track in Munich. It's not brand new like some of the other championship tracks we get, and perhaps being a little bit harder to deal with when it's wet. And like I said, just having that confidence when you're sprinting at a line like that, really hard.
Well, we've just seen Great Britain, Spain and Italy go through from the first heat of the women's 4x100. Now it's the second heat, and on the outside it's a useful French quartet. Hanfouet, Joseph, Parissot and Leconte. This is Florian Hanfouet with the baton tucked in her vest. We've got cameras at every position. Giving a shout out to all the 4 women out there. For Poland, Stefanovic, Kotila, Popovic, Drapola, and on the anchor leg, the very fast finishing Eva Svoboda. She'll keep Poland in contention, I'm sure. Kojic, Soti, Takash and Toth for the Hungarians. Big smile there from Boglarka Takash on the third leg. Kubikova, Lamarkova, Kosakhinkova and Kaisarova for Czech Republic. Germany, well, she was in fine form in the women's 200-meter semis. The lead-off leg, Alexandra Bergart, Lisa Meyer, Jessica Bianca-Vesely and Rebecca Haas, the very experienced anchor leg runner for Germany. Finland. Well, for the Finns, it's Kailemäinen, Pukkanen, Kortelemar and Persianen. And this is a good Dutch quartet as well for this heat. Ketia Sedo leading off for the Dutch, and she'll be handing over to Zoe Sednam, Minka Bishops and Naomi Sedney as well. So the 2 Sedney sisters. And on the inside, Geraldine Frey, Isla Del Ponte, who's decided just to concentrate on the relay. Doesn't feel her form was good enough to contest the individual events. Salome Cora and Melissa Goodschmidt. The Germans you'd have to go with. A bit difficult to pick who might else go through from this heat. Swiss, the Dutch, and And also the French all have pretty useful quartets out there. So as they settle into the blocks, it's Switzerland, Netherlands, Finland, Germany, Czech Republic, Hungary, Poland and France. I overlook the Poles. They could very much be in contention.
Set.
Well, Poland away very strongly on the opening leg. Also Germany doing well at the moment. Lisa Meyer having a blistering back straight. Well, the Poles doing extremely well, and France have done well over the last two legs after a slow start. Germany have quite a bit of ground to make up. It's the French who hand over first, but now it's Rebecca Haas trying to chase down her French rival. And Haas is making up the ground. But it's going to be France just holding off Germany. I think it was Poland who got through for third. So a terrific last let by Mallory Lecomte to hold off the fast-finishing Rebecca Haas. And Eva Svoboda gets Poland into the final as well. We'll bring you confirmation as well of who the two fastest non-automatic qualifiers are. The Dutch, well, see how they did. 43.24 for France. Not quite as quick as the first leg. 43.33 for Germany, and Poland going through in third place, despite the best efforts of Eva Svoboda having to settle for third in that heat. The Dutch, 43.75. And it's the Dutch and the Belgians who go through as the fastest non-automatic qualifiers. I thought it was some sloppy changeovers by the Dutch. To be honest, I was focusing more on the front end and the French and the Germans, but I did catch one or two quite poor changeovers by the Dutch, and that's probably what held them back from the three automatic qualifying positions. We'll have a look at that on the replay. Nevertheless, no problems at all. Four very happy French women. And a good final leg by Maria Lecomte. Bit of a struggle. Ganafua wasn't great on the opening leg, but the French did pick it up very quickly.
Eva Svoboda of Poland brought her team through from about 6th, I think, to 3rd. This is the penultimate changeover here. We'd already lost Finland at this point. They did carry on. I do think they'll be disqualified very late, first changeover. At this point, France running superbly well, and they were fast and fluent, and did spot there Switzerland. Alex Seftel pointing them out on the screen. Looks like they could have drifted out of their lane, but Eva Svoboda came powering through. She is pretty much the reason that Polish team are in that top 3. And here we can see that first changeover for Finland. Desperately sad there to see they just couldn't quite stretch all the way to get the baton to the receiving runner. Perhaps the receiving runner started too early, went too fast. So many fine margins in the relay handovers, but you can see Alex Seftel spotting quite rightly that final changeover from Switzerland could be scrutinised by the judges.
Yeah, it was also a bit sluggish, wasn't it? And I think when you consider that they're a team with Majinga Kambunji, who certainly I think would have made them a medal contender come the final, but maybe didn't have the strength in depth to make too many changes, which we can sometimes see.
The instant debrief there. It's such a fine balance between trying to learn from these experiences but also be frustrated if it's not gone quite right, and it's really important to maintain that team unity, whether you've been eliminated and you're looking to next season, or even more importantly if you've got a final to try and get yourself together for. It's a real team effort.
Over the years, Germany have produced so many very, very good women's 4x100 relay teams. I don't see them as sharp on this occasion. I think the overwhelming favourites are going to be Great Britain and Northern Ireland going into that final. And there's the full lineup and confirmation that Belgium and the Netherlands are going through as the fastest non-automatic qualifiers.
I mean, Germany were over a second slower than they were when they picked up the bronze medal at the World Championships, and we'd hope Gina Luckenkämpfer isn't injured and that she can come, but they're also missing Tatiana Pinto from their bronze medal winning team. This is the replay showing the disqualification of Austria. This was in the first heat, so they were late. Again, that yellow tick on the ground. They need to have passed the baton over before they hit that yellow tick. And unfortunately, the team there just right on top of it. So that will be disqualification for Austria.
Pity for them, but fortunately it doesn't affect the overall result. So this is Elena Valotegara. Took 2 attempts to get over 178. I sometimes like to joke in these morning qualifying, probably needs another coffee. It's okay. And you were making the point about the jumpers coming in at early heights, and I think that's a very good point. They've been sitting around for 4 days, now they're in action. I think it's also a lot to do with the cool conditions as well this morning, which is certainly a vast difference to what we had over the first 4 days. Here's Morgan Lake, 183 for the Briton. Nicely over for her as well. Tied jump for Lake. Qualifying conditions, 194 are all the top 12. I very much doubt we'll need to go up to 194.
Morgan Lake, another athlete working with Robbie Grabatz. I wonder if I have seen him rounded about. I haven't seen him in the crowd so far.
So this is Mirella Demireva, always a big competitor when it counts. Olympic silver medal in 2016. And that's a terrific jump there from the Dutch-based Bulgarian.
Demireva having a good indoor season, didn't she? We haven't seen her for a few years. And the outdoors, it's coming together. Demireva, one of those athletes you'd put an asterisk next to and say really capable of a medal. And such fine margins as you move through those fouls.
Heroshenko. Well, as we were mentioning with a lot of the Ukraine athletes, went straight from the World Indoor Championships in Belgrade, which were just a couple of weeks after the Russian invasion. Based herself in Portugal for a while, and has subsequently moved around a little bit. Has been seen quite frequently on the international circuit. Great friend of Marina Beck-Romanchuk, and the story there is after the Russian invasion, Beck-Romanchuk was living in one of the safer parts of Remain and basically just told Heroshenko to pack her bags and come over. And this is one of the new sensations of world high jumping. 196. Estonian took the World Under-20 gold medal in Cali and has equalled the World Under-18 record. World Under-18 best, I should say. No official records at that age group. Nicely done at 183 for Bruce of Estonia.
She really has had one of the busiest seasons as well, hasn't she? Because she was at the European Under-18s, then the World Championships, then the World Under-20s, and now here.
But funnily enough, she had a bit of a disaster, didn't she, in Jerusalem, and didn't even medal when you would have expected her to. Somebody who's in trouble here is Yulia Levchenko. World Championship silver medalist in 2017, gets it right this time, but takes 3 efforts to get over 183. Levchenko has had a tough time. Spent the first week or so of the Russian invasion in her bunker, in her cellar, and she was posting photos on Instagram of the situation where she was living. And I think, as I say, a lot of the Ukraine athletes have had all sorts of different circumstances. Some have been fortunate to live in parts of Ukraine that have been less affected by the war. Some, like Levchenko, had to take shelter and spend several weeks when they've been unable to train at all in any way, shape or form.
Our first look at the women's 800-metre semi-finals. 2 mornings back-to-back for these 800-metre women. It's a pretty tough qualification, to be honest. 3 rounds in 3 days. We used to see that a lot more here at the European Championships. A bit unusual for some of these athletes. But they're going to try and navigate that in a few minutes.
2 rounds of the Javelin, if you can make it through qualification, and then the final. So this is Pettersson looking ideally for 76 metres, which he has managed this year. but not so on this occasion. So finishing here with a best of around 72 metres, and that's just not going to be good enough, I'm afraid. We've already seen Vesely go over 79, Toni Kusela as well. Just a centimetre between them, 79.27, 79.26. And the others all 77 and below. Realistically, you want to try and get in top 6 overall, if not better. 76.67 of Manu Quijera of Spain. As we have a look at the second group as well. So this is Jakob Samuelsson of Sweden. The High Society of France there. Back to the high jump.
And this is Marie-Laurence Young-Fleisch, bronze medalist 4 years ago in Berlin, and nicely over, 187. Still an awful lot of women in this competition. Just looking down, we've only lost 2 women from this particular group, Group A. That's Pakstika of Lithuania and Lala of Finland. So we've still got 10 women in this group. And in Group B, pretty packed as well, Group B. I should say Group A, this is Group B. Heroshenko jumping in Group B as well. Brought the bar down, first time of asking at 183. No problems though this time around. We lost Laura Zylor from this group, the Briton. She no-heighted at 178. More women went out at 183. That included Erika Falani, Ella Janilla and Barbara Szabo. Bit of a surprise to see Janilla going out. She had such a good indoor season.
There are the women for semi-final 1 of the 800 metres down on the track. Qualification pretty much went to form. We lost Horvat of Slovenia. All the other kind of big favourites going through. This is Adriana Chapla of Poland, part of that very fast opening heat where all the non-automatic qualifiers came from. She has gone underneath 2 minutes this season. Great strength and depth in the Polish endurance team, as normal. Natalia Kroll of Ukraine is a 2-time defending champion. She's here in lane 7. Took the title in Amsterdam and Berlin, followed by Renelle Lamotte of France that we'll see in the next heat. It's Anna Wielgosz of Poland, always super strong in the last 50 metres. Watch out for a strong finish from the Polish athlete. She was 5th in Berlin 4 years ago and has improved since then. 1:59.84, her new personal best set this year. Keely Hodgkinson of Great Britain and Northern Ireland goes in lane 5. Such a cool customer. So much pressure on her young shoulders, and it rarely shows when she races. So close to that World Championship gold, just behind Athing Mo. And then a silver in the Commonwealth Games behind Mary Mora. And it's no surprise that Keely Hodgkinson would love to pick up a gold here at the European Championships to finish off her championship season. Louise Shanahan of Ireland set a new national record this year in Belfast, 1:59.42. She's studying a PhD in Cambridge. She's a very accomplished young woman, has had some disruptions with illness. Let's hope she's back to her best here for these semi-finals. Elena Bello of Italy, really canny competitor, very good tactically, having a great year. First Italian woman under 2 minutes since Elisa Cosmo Paccioni back in 2010. She front ran her heat, I think perhaps because of the shoving that went on in Eugene. She was really poorly affected, and Katerina Bissett of Australia went to the ground. Katerina Guliev of Turkey goes in lane 2. Season's best of 2:01.08 this season. Completing the lineup in lane 1 is the young German athlete Mathieu Kohlberg. went sub-2 last season, hasn't quite managed that this season, but always full of smiles, always runs aggressively and positively. She's still just 22, semi-final at the World Championships. She was the last woman in to this final in that super fast first heat. Elena Bello, as I said, she led her heat. That's not normal for the Italian there in lane 3. Normally loves to hang out just on the inside of the rail, work her way through a group and launch a fantastic sprint finish, but perhaps, like I said, nervous after what went on in Eugene. There's no point in being in fantastic shape if you can't make a final. Keely Hodgkinson often leads these races from the front, controls them, coached by Trevor Painter, who guided Jenny Meadows to European medals and world medals. Jenny Meadows was a master at controlling races from the front, and Keely Hodgkinson can certainly do that. I do think the British woman might do that here at the semi-final stage. Like I said, 3 races in 3 days is pretty tough going. Keely Hodgkinson with the biggest sort of ceiling, if you like, in terms of absolute ability, with her personal best at 1:55.88. And she has got the endurance. We don't see Keely run 1500s, but we know she can navigate the rounds pretty well. Anna Wielgosz, I said watch out for a sprint finish. Maybe we should have looked out for a sprint start as well. Underneath 30 seconds quite significantly for Anna Wielgosz of Poland. She leads the field through. Keely Hodgkinson very content to glide to the position on the shoulder of the leader. I love that position. You're controlling the race without actually leading it. Putting that pressure on Wielgosz, and Keely Hodgkinson bounding along, looking very comfortable. Louise Shanahan choosing to take the shortest line on the inside. If Wielgosz drifts at all, expect Louise Shanahan to nip through the inside. Guliev of Turkey just working her way past Bello. They come through the bell, 60.79, so that slowed slightly. Perhaps Wielgosz just giving herself a good position without wanting to show all her cards, because Wielgosz is capable of so much faster. Could be a big burn up in the last 300 metres, all to fight for. First 3 automatically qualified to tomorrow evening's final. Guliev is poised on the outside. Louise Shanahan of Ireland trying to live with those top 2 on the inside. Keely Hodgkinson just trying to force her way past Anna Wielgosz of Poland. Will she manage it before we hit the turn? Keely Hodgkinson's going to need to just keep pushing for another couple of metres. If she wants that inside line, she probably doesn't need it, to be honest. Keely Hodgkinson happy to run in the middle of lane 1, leaving Anna Wielgosz a little bit of space on the inside. Good sportsmanship there from Keely Hodgkinson. 100 metres to go. They're kicking hard. Top 3 automatically qualified. Keely Hodgkinson of Great Britain starting to show the rest of the field a pair of clean heels. There she goes, Keely Hodgkinson, the Olympic silver medalist, World Championship silver medalist, and it's tight for the 3rd position behind. Anna Wielgosz qualifies as of right, as does Louise Shanahan. What a brilliant run from the Irish woman. Contracted COVID in the middle of the season. We weren't sure whether she was going to get that negative test in time to go to the World Championships, and she did, and holds off strong challenges all around. Guliev of Turkey and Kohlberg of Germany were doing everything they could to deny Louise Shanahan that automatic spot. 2 dead 67, so pretty even splits through the 2 quarters for that field. Hodgkinson strong in the latter stages. Wielgosz again with a great last 50 metres. Louise Shanahan, delight for the Irish woman. She's had a really complicated season. Season's best for Mattia Kohlberg. Great effort. We'll have to wait to see if Kohlberg and Guliev can advance with their times.
Well, it's always so easy to forget that Keely Hodgkinson only has, 12 to 18 months of senior international championship experience. She won the European indoor title in Torun in Poland just a few days after turning 19, but she has such fantastic racing nous. She has great speed as well, of an athlete with a much older head on her young shoulders, and was just able to deal with the challenge of Wielgosz. I'm sure the other athletes paying her some respect as well. Shanahan, though, terrific to see her qualify, because it was so close there on the line. Looked like Guliev was on the outside, and Kroll, I think, was on the inside, just trying to battle her. Kohlberg was in the mix as well. Just coming down that home straight, Shanahan found something extra, and very simple in the end. Hodgkinson would always be expected to make it through to the final fairly comfortably. They did keep her on her toes for some time, and Guliev and Kohlberg, they'll have to wait and see whether their times are good enough, around that 2:01.2, 2:01.3 mark.
So now Tatiana Gusin now 28 years of age, formerly a student in the United States, nicely over at 1.87 m. Goosin, Balkan champion back in 2017. Good technique there from Goosin. It was a best of 191 going back to 2017, but looking as though she could challenge that perhaps. This is the Slovenian, Leah Apostolovski. Apostolovski, a best of 192, 7-time Slovenian champion. Clipped it with the back of her calves, but the bar stays there. Tall, rangy athlete. Third in last year's European Under-23 Championships in Tallinn, so an emerging talent, just 22 years of age. Takes us to 4 women over 187 in Group B. 17 women overall were still in the women's high jump qualifying with the bar raised to 187, so could be that 187 is the deciding height.
Semi-final 2 with the women's 800 metres. The first one wasn't particularly fast. They can go through in around about 58 seconds. I think we could see non-automatic qualifiers from this. Angelika Sana, we've just seen Anna Vilgoš, her teammate, advance in the first heat. Very fast 400 metre runner. Laura Hoffmann of Switzerland's been working on her 1500 metre strength this season and then kind of nipped back into 800. She wasn't quite content with her 1500 metre performances, didn't want to go to the championships over that distance. Maybe next year. Laura Hoffmann with that strength will finish really strongly. Gemma Reekie of Great Britain and Northern Ireland goes in lane 6. She was 4th at the Olympic Games, was so brave in that final, went for a medal, came up just short. As I said earlier in this programme, she has glandular fever during the indoor season and is just working her way back into the season. She is looking better with every performance. Alexandra Bell joined her teammate from Great Britain and Northern Ireland in lane 5. She was 6th at the Commonwealth Games, was the Olympic finalist last year, 1:57.66. Alexandra Bell rounding into form as well. Renelle Lamotte of France is sitting on 2 silver medals. We've just seen the defending champion Natalia Kroll go out in the previous heat. Renelle Lamotte would love to upgrade her silver to gold. She's looked really impressive on the Diamond League circuit. Couldn't quite recreate that in Oregon at the World Championships. But Lamotte knows her way around European finals. Let's hope she can make another one. Christina Herring of Germany is in lane 3. Her teammate Mathieu Kohlberg is sitting in the fastest of the non-automatic qualifying spots. Herring is a really good championship performer. If anyone was going to lead this race, make it fast, I think it could be Sara Koivisto of Finland. 4 national records in Tokyo last year as she progressed through the rounds of the 800 and the 1500. And no stranger to pushing on the pace. And Spanish champion in lane 1 is Lucia Panaccio. She did a personal best, coming 4th in that super fast opening heat yesterday, 2:01.63. First race, they came through just outside of 60 seconds, ran pretty evenly across those 2 laps. Just 2:01.2 and 2:01.32, the times for Kohlberg and Guliev in the non-automatic qualifying spots. And they're away. Renelle Lamotte, Gemma Reekie, Alex Bell all in this heat, who would love to make the final. Some of the fastest times in the last few years, especially from European athletes. Pretty even at the break there. No one's really gone from this. I thought Koivisto might have a go, but she's happy to slot into the group. Renelle Lamotte takes up the lead at the moment. Christina Herring has the inside line. That's a good move from the tall German athlete. She does manoeuvre her way around the group particularly well. Christina Herring in front of a home crowd at the moment. Renelle Lamotte on her shoulder. Alex Bell just slotted into 3rd place at the moment. Laura Hoffmann is a very canny racer, the Swiss woman on the outside. She'll be looking at the clock. If this isn't 59.58, I'd expect Laura Hoffmann maybe to be the athlete to keep pushing. Christina Herring at the moment leading the field through the first lap. Let's have a look. Could they get their non-automatic qualifying spots? That's very good, 59.1. That's given a lot of these women a bit more belief that they could get into the final, but the first 3 spots will be automatic. Everybody will have their focus on that. Christina Herring holding the lead, a gun-to-take run from the German woman so far. If she can hold on to this, that'll be a race of her season, I think, from Christina Herring. But the charges are coming from behind. Here comes Sarah Kavisto of Finland. She's got strength in the latter stages. I said Laura Hoffman's been working on her 1500. Gemma Reekie was a brilliant 5th in the Commonwealth Games 1500 in her second event. All to fight for, 180 metres to go. This is a massive group, 3 automatic qualifiers. Everybody is trying to empty the tank. Gemma Reekie just sticking on the inside there. She's going to need Christina Herring to drift wide if she's going to move up through this field. Christina Herring at the moment holding on, but she's tying up. Gemma Reekie sneaking through on the inside. Renelle Lamotte, Alex Bell of Great Britain and Northern Ireland finishing strongly as well. It is going to be Renelle Lamotte taking the win from Gemma Reekie, Alex Bell, and a tired Christina Herring in 3rd. Has she done enough to get herself into the final? Slow second lap there in the end, 61 seconds.
Well, Renelle Lamotte just seems to be at home at the European Championships, hasn't always achieved the level that you'd think she might be capable of on the World and Olympic stage, but maybe she just feels comfortable, like she can challenge once again. Christina Herring led out the charge, and then a lot of athletes, including Gemma Reekie, ended up quite boxed in and struggling for space as Herring perhaps saved something for the last to try and finish strongly. Just beaten there by Lamotte. I think Gemma Reekie was a little bit lucky that she was able to just squeeze through enough to make it in 2nd place ahead of her teammate Bell.
So Gudiev reading the race right and thinking she's not made it through. She's correct. It's Herring and Hoffman, the 2 non-automatic qualifiers. Oh, what a hard moment. Mattia Kohlberg and Christina Herring do all of their training together. They've got up in St. Moritz training hard this season.
I'll tell you what, that was a terrifically entertaining race. Just 3/10 over the first 3 women home, and then less than a second over the first 5. I'm a bit old school. That was a real battle royal. I really enjoyed that race. It wasn't one woman, with all respect to Keely Hodgson, who you knew was going to qualify as of right. It was really up for dispute right the way down to the line. 5 women in it as they're coming into the home straight, and just a wonderful contest with everybody having to dig deep, grit their teeth and go for the line. In the end, following Lamotte home, it was the 2 Olympic finalists, Gemma Reekie and Alexandra Bell.
I do think, Gemma Reekie, she didn't have much choice. She was on that inside and there was a huge pack. There was nothing she could do about trying to swing wide. There were far too many bodies in her way. But the minute there was an opening, Christina Herring drifted wide. Gemma Reekie responded really well. She's struggled in back-to-back races since her glandular fever, Gemma Reekie, and that was the most impressive I've seen her. And I think hats off to Christina Herring for making that a hard-run race throughout. And Laura Hoffman, I think that could be her first major championship outdoor final, the Swiss woman. And that slow-mo showing she had her shoelace untied. What could she do if she manages to keep those shoelaces in line?
Well, I must admit, I also smiled just before the gun went, because I saw a large group of the Christina Herring fan club, and they're all holding up posters with big silvery fishes on, or, drawings of fishes on it. I thought it was only myself and Alex who made bad puns.
No, we enjoyed a lot of your puns so far in the coverage. That's the compiled results of the 2 semi-finals, confirming Laura Hoffman and Christina Herring in the non-automatic spots, going together with those top 3s. 3 Brits, that makes for some good reading for any British fans out there. But Renelle Lamotte, it'd be brilliant to see her convert her 2 silver medals into a gold. And great to see the home nation, Christina Herring and Germany, in the final.
So this is Elena Valortigada. Her first attempt at 187, just recorded a little while ago. We've already seen 4 women go over. Had a little wobble at 178, needed 2 attempts to get over, but no problems at all for the Italian. Really coming into form this year. Still hasn't taken off her training tights. Nicely done.
So just an update on some of the action we've already seen down there. We're hearing that the Turkish team have protested their men's relay result, and they might get a rerun. Looks like the relay and the men's decathlon. Be one to look forward to.
So this is Vukasevic from Group A. The Montenegrin nicely over as well. Montenegrin record holder. At one time, her indoor record was actually higher than the men's. That goes back a few years. Montenegrin high jumping's come on a little bit. Former European under-20 champion back in 2009. Yeah, she's been around a long time, but really having a very good season. This is the young Serbian. Topic won almost to tease the European under-18 title. Surprisingly beaten by Bruce of Estonia in the World Under-20 Championships, both of them in the under-18 ranks, but Topic jumping well here. I'm sure her father, the former European champion Dragutin Topic, is somewhere in the stands. I'm looking out there. Haven't seen him yet, but I'm pretty confident, as he's his coach, as he'll be around somewhere. Veerman of the Netherlands. And she's nicely over as well. So Britt Veerman gets over. So we've got 3 women over in Group A. This is Solon Giquel. Her father, Jean-Claude, still the French record holder at 2.35 meters. Well, nudges the bar a little bit, but gets over, and that's all that matters at this stage. No extra points for style. Fast into the bar, gets good lift, takes off a little bit too far away, but has enough velocity to take her over, despite dragging her legs a little bit behind. Just clips it with what looks like her calves. Giquel adds her name to that list in Group B. 6 women over in Group B. Morgan Lake, former British record holder, very fast on the run-up, clears without too many problems.
Disappointing summer so far for Morgan Lake. Travelled all the way out to Eugene and couldn't compete, couldn't collect her accreditation because she couldn't get a negative COVID test after contracting it just at the start of her trip over to American. Talking to her coaching team, she's a matter of about 12 hours away from being able to collect her accreditation in time to compete. So long old trip for no action for Morgan Lake, looking a lot more comfortable here in Munich.
And confident as well. I was watching her in the Commonwealth Games when she had an England vest on, and she really did lack a little bit of confidence there and finished 4th when I thought she was fully capable of getting amongst the medals.
So on to the first heat of the men's 4x4. Spitz, who competed in the individual with a fantastic heat win. And then the Portuguese team, Coelho, Pereira, Tavares and Dos Santos. And he is just towards the back of shot previously. Burs, Bonavacia, slightly disappointing for him to be outside of the medals in the individual events. Ramsey Angela will bring them home. So 2 out of the world indoor winning relay quartets. Schlegel, Schneider, Koch and Sanders for the Germans. And could once again be strong. We saw them break the 4x1 national record earlier. For Spain, so Oscar Husios in the team for the heat, which is good to see. Garcia, Bua and Guyaro, the others making up the team. Slovenia have Gökman, Meshek Koshir, Gucek and Perlan. And then the Belgians with 2 Borlée brothers and the opportunity to bring in Kevin for the final. Doom and Sakor also involved. Van der Benden was in the 4x1 relay. Really do have strength in depth, and it's not just the Borlase. Tuba, Zimny, Trenishak and Zalewski. There he is for Poland on the inside. Not having the best season, but still important parts of this Polish relay quartet. So, once again, fairly simple, top 3 in each heat, and then 2-time qualifiers across the pair of runs, with the next one coming up in around 10 minutes' time, which will feature the likes of France, Italy and Great Britain. In this one, Poland, Belgium, Slovenia, Spain, Germany, the Netherlands, Portugal and Switzerland.
Set.
So here we are with the first of the 4x400 metre action. The women's heats coming up after the men's. Well, Poland and the Netherlands traditionally strong and winning quite a few international medals over the last few years. Of course, we've also had the innovation of the mixed relay of the World Championships and Olympic Games. Let's have a look as we wait for the stagger to unwind on the second leg, of course. Going nicely is Beurs of the Netherlands, battling with Coelho. Switzerland there on the outside. Spitz has had an impressive championship so far. A new lifetime best earlier in the competition. Jonathan Borlase. Well, so difficult to make it into the Belgian team, in fact, these days. Two brothers, both faster this year. Kevin, 45.12, the best Belgian in 2022. Spain just leading with Lucas Bua. Trying to hold off Lina Martin Bonavacia, who now comes to the front and looks to finish his second leg strongly. Poland well back in last place at this point. We'll hope for much better in the women 4x4, the defending champions, of course. Netherlands now starting to eke out that advantage, but I'm sure Hasios will try and respond. Top 3 going through automatically. Germany and Switzerland behind. So Joachim Dobber on this third leg, being reeled in by Hasios, looking determined, gritting his teeth. And the Germans in a relatively comfortable third place just at this moment, but it could all change. Dylan Borlase will have a bit of work to do. So Ramsey Angela of the Netherlands, Guillaro of Spain following him closely. Just beginning to close up. Zalewski making moves, passing 2 athletes. Now ahead of De Santos of Portugal. But can the Borlase make it in? Of course, 2-time qualifying spots if you're outside the top 3. Dylan Borlase fighting, but at the front, Guillaro of Spain comes past Angler of the Netherlands. And look at this between Germany and Belgium on the line. Oh, so close. But certainly Spain and the Netherlands are through to that final. 3:01.27 has come up, so fastest time by Spanish quartet this year. And it was a strong one as well. The Netherlands, who can bring in the likes of Van Diepen, perhaps for that final 3/10 behind in the end, having led most of the way round.
Nail-biting moments for the German quartet. They ran well, they ran bravely when you've got the likes of Belgium hunting you down. It has been given to the Germans, 3:01.8. Let's see what the time is for the Belgian quartet, because that was super close on the line. There are 2 best times available. You can see that graphic in the right-hand corner, the little Q. But the automatic qualifying going to the home nation. Good run from Spain. Good from Ramsey Angler as well. He perhaps looked slightly uncomfortable in the hurdles. Did he take part in the 400-metre hurdles? Or am I making that up? Or was he on the flat? I think...
Yeah, I seem to recall that he did. Now, Belgium, they ran 3 out of the 4 who won the gold medal 4 years ago. I mentioned, though, Jonathan Paulet not having the best season. Let's have a look here. Dylan closing quickly. Did dip on the line, but ultimately was just behind.
Good showing from the Dutch team. They've really asserted themselves as a relay force. In the last couple of years, we weren't used to seeing them do it, and they've just gone from strength to strength to strength. The women's team, perhaps, I don't know, it's hard to say. The men's quartet picking up a medal in Tokyo as well. The mixed relay, they're doing really well. They don't quite look like they're firing on all cylinders. See that photo finish there. Marvin Schiegel just getting the nod ahead of Dylan Paulet. We haven't got a time for the Flemish quartet yet. It's got to be down to the thousandths, perhaps.
Part of the problem, I think, for Belgium is that they've relied for so long on the Paulet family, Dylan, Jonathan and Kevin. Time is just taking its toll. It's the law of diminishing returns. They're just getting a little bit older. Kevin's now 36, I think. And there's younger, fresher legs coming in on the other teams. Still competitive, though. Just wondering whether they're going to bring in Julian Watrin. As we look at Jaroslava Mahučić. Well, she failed the first attempt, chopped her stride, but had such lift that she was able to elevate herself over the bar without any problems. This was Mahučic's opening height. Massive, massive clearance. And that was despite it being a little bit technically inept. I'm sure her coach, I could see her coach, Tatiana Stepanova, out there. This is Mirella Demireva. She's feeling confident when I chatted to her yesterday, and that's a good reason why. Nicely done for the silver medalist from 4 years ago in Berlin. Tidy clearance there. Perhaps not quite the gap between the bar and her torso that Mahučić had, but nevertheless, nicely done from Mirella Demireva. So we've got 5 women clear in this group. Yulia Levchenko now, she's in Group B. Has been struggling, Levchenko. This is a clutch jump. Ooh, gets over. Lives to fight another day. And I have to say now, with Levchenko going clear, just doing my math, there's 13 women clear at 187. I think everybody's finished. I'm just looking across. Yeah, Levchenko was one of the last to finish. This was recorded just a couple of minutes ago. I think the referees are progressing all 13 women through to tomorrow's final. No need to go up a height and try and eliminate one person. Common sense decision. This is Bruce. This is, again, a recording from a moment ago. World Under-20 champion, just bringing it down. Well, we've seen a couple of the Under-20 competitors who did so well in Cali, just struggling a little bit here. I don't think it's actually the level of competition or anything to do with confidence. I think it's just going backwards and forwards from Colombia.
And at a young age as well, when you're not necessarily used to all that travel. I saw a free throw of Israel in the men's 200. In the end, he did advance as a non-automatic qualifier, but he struggled as well. Angelika Topic has done very well, winning that European Under-18 title. And then a bronze at the World Juniors, and now coming through to make, I think, another senior final. I think she has made some senior finals before.
So there we have the full wrap-up of all the women who qualified. And the women with one by the name were the ones who were flawless in qualifying. All the way down to Yulia Levchenko, who needed 3 attempts to get over 187. 13 women will progress. Not too many surprises. Everybody who went through was expected. Maybe Erica Filani, the Italian, just going out. Might have expected to see her in the final. So now it's the men's 4x400 meters second heat. On the outside, it's the always useful Italian quartet, led off by Benetti, Assetti, the former European under-20 champion, Lopez and Pivotti. On their inside, the Ukraine squad of Pozdanelikov, Danilenko, Babanov and Podolilko. Good French quartet. Biron, who we saw in the individual 400, Prévost, Boypart and Onder. Slovak Republic, good lead-off leg. Kresik to the world indoor champion on many occasions, Pavel Maslak, Desenko and Patrick Storm on the last leg. That is a good team from the Czech Republic. Hungary's team, Aide, Mate, Oal, Molnar. Perhaps not one of the stronger teams in this heat. Turkey, Kaya, Ensu, Altintas and Nezir. Well, the Turks over the last few years have produced a slew of good 400-meter runners. I think they could be in contention for a place in the final. And on the inside, Great Britain with Breyer, Mitchum, Davey and the individual bronze medalist Alex Haydock-Wilson on the anchor leg. Not perhaps one of the stronger British teams we've seen over the years, but should be good enough to make their way through to the final. So as they settle in to the blocks from the inside, it's Great Britain, Northern Ireland, Turkey, Hungary, Czech Republic, Slovak Republic, France, Ukraine, and on the outside, Italy. Well, the stagger doesn't unwind until into the second leg. So it's often slightly deceptive telling who's in the lead, but certainly at the moment, Joseph Breyer on the outside for Great Britain, Northern Ireland, running blind, but he's having a good leg. So too the Czech Republic, with Martin Kresak leading the way at the moment. Joseph Breyer doing well. French lead-off runner Gilles Bidon also up there. So at the moment, France, Great Britain and Czech Republic quite a way ahead of the rest. Italy also running extremely well at the moment. I should say it was Italy doing well at this stage, but France now taken over, like Prévost. Prévost being trapped by Pavel Maslak, the second leg runner Vladimir Assetti. Great Britain, Northern Ireland back and forth, quite a long way to make up at this stage, but they've got two stronger runners on the concluding legs. So it's Assetti of Italy. Now it's France with Simon Boypart. Perhaps the weakest of the four runners from the Czech Republic, Desensky. Britain and Northern Ireland trying to close the gap, making some headway. It's Brian Lopez at the back of the leading quartet trio, and it's now about to become a quartet with some good work on this third leg from the Briton. So Lewis Davey has run an excellent leg to bring Great Britain, Northern Ireland back into contention. Brian Lopez now edging round his Czech and French counterparts, handing over, and indeed, what an excellent leg from Lewis Davey, and he hands over to Alex Haydock-Wilson. Now, Haydock-Wilson hopefully not too tired after last night's exertions, but it's 3 to go through. Czech Republic in the lead with Patrick Zorn, very experienced relay runner. France in second, Great Britain, Northern Ireland third, and now Italy's just starting to drift off the back. Pivotti losing contact with the leading trio, but it's Sorm with France's Amdon challenging, coming up on the outside. Haydock-Wilson being pushed wide, almost out into the 4th lane. Oh. Pivotti tumbles to the track as he tries to battle for a place in the top 3. Doesn't look too badly injured, maybe a bruise or two. But France and Great Britain also get through behind the Czech Republic. Czech Republic, good run there from that quartet. They don't really have too many other people, well, realistically nobody else to bring in. Both France and Great Britain can strengthen their quartet with bringing in people for the final. We'd certainly expect to see Matthew Hudson-Smith in there. And Italy, well, 3:02.60 for the Italians. That sees them through at the expense of Poland, and the defending champions, 2-time defending champions, Belgium, get through the back door into the final as the fastest non-automatic qualifier as well.
Good run from the Czech Republic. So much experience on that squad, and they really brought it all to a 4 there. The Italians doing well to hold on in the end. You can see the Italian here, he's got the baton in the lead, slipped that through the field a little bit, and he was fighting so hard in these closing stages. There was a bit of alignment kind of going on down that home straight. The Italian having to run wide, and it's great to see him get that non-automatic qualifying spot for his team. And another loose shoelace, Alex Haydock-Wilson, failing to tie his shoelaces, much like Laura Hoffman in the women's 800 metres. Come on, guys, basics.
I don't think he noticed, did he? He was just flying down, just battling for a place. Matthew Hudson-Smith, the individual 400-metre runner, ran the 3rd leg on the British team that got the silver medal 4 years ago. And just wondering where they were going to introduce him in this quartet. I'd put him on the anchor leg. Where would you guys put him?
Maybe 1st and 4th? No, I'm joking. They often say, you know, that 2nd leg's a tiny bit longer, so you might want to put your strongest athlete there, but perhaps on the closing leg, because even if they're behind the likes of Belgium, maybe the Czech Republic, you'd fancy Matthew Hudson-Smith's chances of powering through the field.
I have to say that even though Great Britain and Northern Ireland finished 3rd there, I hope our international listeners not thinking we're being too parochial, but throw in Hudson-Smith and I think you have to make Great Britain and Northern Ireland the favourites.
So we have seen the conclusion of those 2 men's 4x4 relay heats. The women's will follow in a few moments' time. We've got the 2nd group of javelin qualification for the men. So let's check in and see how they're doing. We saw Thomas Roller, by the way, the defending champion, go out with a best of 71 metres. Has really struggled this year, hasn't regained that kind of form from Berlin after surgery a couple of years ago, but still disappointing for one of the home favourites, even if he struggled this year. This is Alexandru Novak of Romania. I remember the European under-20s a couple of years ago. He was beaten out of the gold medal with the very last throw from Cyprian Mrczyglot of Poland. That's still a great competitor. So also in this group we've got Julian Weber of Germany and his teammate Andreas Hoffmann. So even though those two haven't had as much international recognition as Johannes Vetter and Thomas Roller, they're still very capable of challenging for gold. As we see there, that effort of Novak, 77.68 for the 1st round. So Julian Weber 89.54 this year. Actually only 6th on the German all-time list, such as their strength over the years. So Julian Weber, and that could be the first throw over 80 metres across both pools of qualification.
Julian Weber, so many nearly performances, 4th at the Olympics, 4th at the World Championships. He looked really good in qualification in Eugene as well, and then he did recreate that form, and it's just gutting every time. Everyone else seems to find another metre and a half. I would love to see Julian Weber triumph in front of a home crowd. Lots of big personalities and brilliant athletes in this field across the two pools, but Julian Weber, for me, I feel like he just deserves a special moment here in Munich.
Yeah, could well get one. We're looking here at Timothy Herman of Belgium, also capable of over 80 metres, 78.35 this year. Down the runway, launches, explosively dramatic dive down to the ground. So Herman over 75 this time. So Weber best overall, not only in this Group B, but across the two pools. And looking strong. Thomas Roller is actually saying that not only for himself, he's only thrown 72 metres this year, so actually he came in with quite a, he said, an open mind, which kind of means he had low expectations, but he's saying that we have to get used to the fact that 2018, 2019 was a real golden era for German javelin throwing, and people maybe had come accustomed to that and difficult to match. But as a result of the Germans being so strong, 3 throws over 90 metres in one competition, that does change the world standard a little bit. Latalo, he, following the retirement of Pitkämäki and Ruskanen, as I was saying, he's kind of replaced them in the major finals, has done a good job of qualifying and finishing 4th and 6th. However, hasn't quite got onto the rostrum, so maybe this is his opportunity. There's also a good Finnish inter-team battle. Oliver Helander having to pull out through injury. Someone who soldiered on into the Olympic final when he was clearly really struggling after Ruskanen, the reserve, didn't want to go all the way to Tokyo as he wasn't in the best form. Helander, it was horrible to see him wincing in pain after throwing each time. Etalatalo, though, that should be good enough. 79.29 with his first round effort, as we have a look back at that men's 4x4 second relay heat from a few moments ago. Sean just ahead of the French quartet, and then Haydock Wilson. Phil pointed out at the time it was a great leg by Lewis Davey to get Britain back into contention to make it into the top 3.
So there we have the results from the men's 4x400 metres relay, led by the Spanish quartet with 3:01.27. National record for the Portuguese, even though they don't make it through to the final, with 3:03.59.
A proud moment for a squad. I think we talk about medals, we talk about finals, but the honour of pulling on your nation's vest, and Portuguese can walk away here from Munich saying we were the fastest ever 4x4 squad from our nation. That's a bit of fun.
Well, they're also in the same hotel as us. We'll give them a little clap if we bump into them later.
Yeah, noise in our hotel ramping up day by day, I think, as the athletes finish their championships, which is fun to hear. This is the Heat 1 of the women's 4x4, featuring a very strong Polish squad. Great Britain, Northern Ireland, coming off their bronze medal at the World Championships. Natalia Kaczmarek, that individual silver medalist, making her way through the picture. They're gonna, same as the men, going to be looking for first 3 automatically through to the final, and then the next 2.
Over to Andreas Hoffmann, looking to do exactly what his teammate Julian Weber did a moment ago. So foul in the opening round. Does he get a valid attempt here? Looked like it. So Hoffmann does indeed, that green indicator. Over 92 meters in Offenburg in Germany in 2018. And likes to look at that. 77 meters 29 centimetres for Hoffman, and the two teammates pleased with what they probably think will be good enough, because slippery conditions earlier, it's dried out a little, but still plenty of moisture in the air. So here is Jakub Vadlec, the Olympic silver medalist, lifetime best in Doha this year for the 31-year-old. Behind Anderson Peters, who's had a fantastic season. 90.88 for Vadlec at the start of the season. So another who needed to get a good mark in after that initial failure. And there is Jan Zalesny here mentoring the Czech throwers. Zalesny, who in 2006, aged 40, won his last senior international medal, the world record holder. Vadlec then, 81.81 for the Czech. Of course, we saw Barbara Spatakova qualify for the women's final as well, so those are probably their biggest medal hopes. Vadlec and Vesely always seem to find a way to get on the podium, even in tricky conditions. And we talk about the situation with the track at the Olympics last year. Obviously, Neeraj Chopra of India taking the gold there, but behind him, Vadlec and Vesely made the best of those conditions where the faster throwers were struggling to slow down in time, where you have to come to complete stop. Such an awkward technique to get right.
It's a good memory there, Alex. You're right, it was moist in that Tokyo final as well. Vadlec and Vesely really do know how to bring their best. We didn't have Vesely at the World Championships. He was suffering with illness there. And here comes Julian Weber again. He qualifies so well, so often. He's having a brilliant season, a number of top threes on the circuit. Doha, Diamond League, Hengelo, Stockholm as well. You can always get in the top three in a Diamond League and then yet to do it in the global finals so far. Good to see if Julian Weber can manage that.
But we do sometimes see that from the top javelin throwers. It can be all to play for come the final, whether it's the conditions, just getting everything right on the day. Also because of the strain on the shoulder and on your elbow and your body, sometimes athletes who go well over 90 meters can't do it many times and can't do it in the big competitions. But javelin finals, some of the most thrilling to watch just in isolation, a pure feed of that, to see one after another who could improve, who's got a good mark on the board, and who can then try and pull everything together to get that big throw towards the far side of the stadium. So we've seen Vadlec 81.81. That's the best throw of all. Weber, the only athlete over 80.99, which is around what was needed to make the final in Amsterdam in 2016. So that just tells you quite a lot about how this competition is going, but still gives someone who's having a bit of a rough qualification just easing into it to improve come the final, because that's something else you see. To throw further in qualification than the final is always disappointing for these throwers. Vahisa Saya of France here. Let's have a look. He 74.70 so far, doesn't look to have improved.
I just pulled up the results from Berlin 2018, and I do remember that javelin qualifying was done on a hot, sticky morning there. And on that occasion, we had 10 men over 80 meters, including Johannes Vetter, who's not here, throwing 87 meters, and Thomas Roller, who is here and defending his title, throwing 85 meters. I think it's the question of these conditions. It's a bit damp, it's a bit cool. It's just not very good conditions for javelin throwing. I think that's widely accepted. That's why we're seeing these modest marks. Let's keep our fingers crossed that over the weekend it gets a bit better in the evenings, and when the gold medals are contested, that they've got some nice warm conditions.
We've seen two 4x4 heats. This is our final relay over 4x400. Of course, all those 4x1 heats this morning as well. It's going to be the women's 4x400 closing out the track action, unless we get that rerun for the Turkish men 4x100. They might get to go out there on their own, see if they can get one of the non-automatic spots. Norway will go in lane 8. Oppengard Sletten, Kloster and Vold. Good work there from the Norwegian squad to cheer on Lynn Oppengarde. She's out in lane 8. Lane 7 will be the Czech Republic, their male counterparts, just winning that second 4x4 heat. Kretsulikova, Hichova, Hoffmanov and Vondrova, big hitter on the end of their quartet. Hungary will go in lane 6, led off by Nibhadze there, waving to the crowd. And we'll see Barta Keri, Rakai and Molnar completing their lineup. Lane 5 will be Belgium. Naomi van der Broek off first, and Helena Ponette, Pauline Coquet and Camille Laus. Spain go in lane 4. Their men look pretty good in that opening heat. And then their 4x4, Eva Santillan, Kaiser, Segura and Hernandez. I think it's Great Britain and Northern Ireland took the bronze medal at the World Championships, the top European team in the women's 4x4. Zoe Clark, Emma Pippi weren't part of that medal-winning quartet, but Nicole Jürgen and Olivia Nielsen were. Lane 2 is Italy. Polineri will lead them off, then she'll hand over to Lacudo, Troiani and Mangioni. Completing the lineup in lane 1 is Poland, the defending champions. They won in Berlin 4 years ago. It was a brilliant kind of 50 minutes or so for Justina Sviti-Ercetic there. She will go on leg 3. She took the individual title and then just seemed to ride that wave into the 4x400, pulling her team all the way through to the gold medal. So reminder, top 3 automatically qualify, then another 2.
Set.
Great Britain and Northern Ireland, the squad with the fastest season's best by quite a bit, 3 minutes 22 seconds. The Polish team just a bit, 9 seconds off their best ever. They have struggled a little bit. They weren't quite in tip-top form in Oregon. Have they saved a little bit here for this? We saw Anna Kielbasinska and Natalia Kaczmarek run really well individually. The Polish team look like they're adrift in lane 1, but that's a long, long stagger for the Polish team to unwind. At the moment, the graphic on our left-hand side giving Zoe Clark of Great Britain and Northern Ireland the lead. As they move into lane 1, they'll stay in lanes. In fact, the second leg runner will stay in lanes for another 100 metres, so this is an awfully long stagger. You often have to rely on graphics. There's some brilliant help being given to us by the technology in the battens. But to the naked eye, it's who hands over first, and it is Zoe Clark to Emma Pippi of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. Belgium next, Helena Ponette. And a good handover with van der Broek. And they're going to make their way towards the 800-metre break line. That's what's used in the open 800 metres. And they'll glide into lane 1. It's often a big kind of tactical battle as they navigate positions into lane 1. 400-metre runners individually, normally out there on their own. They don't have to get used to that. They use all that experience from their relays. And it was a very smooth, not too much pushing and shoving. And Emma Pippi of Great Britain and Northern Ireland has got quite a big lead. Spanish athlete Bakisa is on a storming second leg, putting the Belgians under pressure. But here come the Poles. It could be a messy second changeover. Nicole Jürgen and Emma Pippi are going to be relieved that they're out of that. And the rest of the field spread out across the track. Thankfully, all the athletes staying on their feet, all the batons handed over, no problem. The order the teams hit the 200-metre mark, the halfway through their leg, and that is the order that they're lined up on, the athletes that will be receiving the baton. But there was a lot of change in that second 200 on the second leg, and that led to a little bit of chaos. And to be honest, the Polish team were storming down the home straight and then just had to battle with a lot of traffic, and that pushed them back into 5th place. Justina Sviti-Ercetic working hard to get the Poles back into contention. The Belgium team are back in 2nd place, and it's a strong finish again from the Spanish team. Just a repeat of the second leg. Nicole Jürgen of Great Britain and Northern Ireland working hard to stay in the front. Belgium have saved a little bit for their second leg. That's Coquet. The third leg running really strongly in the final 50 metres. And that was a good change over from Spain and the Czech Republic and Poland. Poland have got Natalia Kaczmarek on this 4th and final leg. But expect Kaczmarek to glide past these other athletes There she goes. She takes Hernandez of Spain. She takes Vondrova of the Czech Republic. And now she's only got the Belgium team in her sight. Surely Great Britain home and dry. Lavia Nielsen hitting the 200-metre mark, some 2 or 3 seconds behind the rest of the competitors. Belgium have got to hold strong here. There's going to be some big charges from Natalia Kaczmarek and Vondrova of the Czech Republic. All to fight for in the closing stages. Top 3 go through automatically. Great Britain and Northern Ireland, some 30 or 40 metres ahead. The Belgian team, as they so often do, saving a little bit for the last 50 metres. That's Camille Laus of Belgium is going to hold on for second place. Natalia Kaczmarek bringing the Polish quartet through into third place. And Lada Vondrova only able to settle for fourth. The Belgium women's team do this every single time, save a tiny bit for the last 50 metres. They fight to get a good position at 200, then they seem to relax and gather, and just when you think they're going to get swallowed up by the other nations, they go again. Brilliant tactics from the Belgian quartet. And the Polish team look like they're having a bit of a debrief. So I think that's going to be discussing that third changeover that was super messy.
Well, the Brits were so far ahead once Amma Pippi really got into her running that it was a fairly relaxed last couple of legs for Jürgen and Nielsen. But as you say, really impressive from the Belgians, particularly after the men, slightly disappointed, but have made it through to the final. I think also the women have gained from being part of the mixed relay quartets and developing a team that trains together and works really hard for one another. Poland, well, I thought that just like she did at the World Championships, Małgorzata Holub-Kowalik was a little bit disappointing on her relay leg, drifted back into fourth and almost to fifth. But luckily they did have Sweetie Ercetic, again, not had the best season, the defending champion, didn't make the final. And then Kaczmarek, who has run sub 50 seconds this year, just to make sure that they got through in third place. Otherwise, it could have been very close with Poland, who also won the relay team. Last time we had these championships in Berlin in 2018, beating the Czech Republic and Spain. They'll have to wait to see if their times are good enough.
Yes. Good runs all round, and I think that Polish team, they were moving themselves really well into a good position. The second leg athlete, Holub-Kowalik, ran really well, but the advantage, the ground that she'd made up, just almost got neutralised in that scrappy changeover. Athletes were crossing all across the track, trying to find the athlete they were meant to be handing over to. Zoe Clark and Amma Pippi, not sort of in the A-string 4x4 quartet, but I think with those two runs there, we could be having a bit getting into that team. They gave the Great Britain Northern Ireland team a huge advantage, and that just allowed Nicole Jürgen and Lavia Nielsen to relax and not have to worry about all the drama that was going on behind. Kaczmarek.
I was going to say, I think I probably was about to say the same as you, Hannah. It was just a terrific last leg from Natalia Kaczmarek. She's a sub 50-second performer, and she's really almost bailed the Poles out there, out of a very difficult situation. And we were talking earlier about the Poles and speculating on how well they were going to do. It doesn't look like they're really firing on all cylinders here. They've got other people to come in for the last leg. Justina Sweetie Ercetic not showing the same form as previous seasons. Iga Baumgart-Witten, again, she made the final of the 400 metres, but perhaps just a little bit down on the form of previous seasons. Yes, they've got Kilbasinska and also, of course, Kaczmarek. Still a little bit unimpressed with them.
So, Unsel of Turkey, 68.97 so far. Well, we've said it's a somewhat underwhelming Javelin qualification in terms of distance because of the conditions. But let's just have a look how that compares. So, 77.01 is, at this point in time, needed. Tonni Keränen of Finland has that particular mark at this moment. There are 3 Finns set to go through to that final. And you can see there on sale that 11 relates to 11th overall in this group. So disappointment for him, only one athlete below him, Jakob Samuelsson, who is carrying 2 failures. So the Latvians, 2 in the first pool, Gailams and Strovinders. This is Gatis Kaks. 87.57 at best. That was 3 years ago in Austria. So can he improve by 3 meters? No, afraid not. Roland's Strobenders in a strong position, 77.33 from Group A. So disappointment for Gattis Kax, also given as an invalid attempt as well. No one has come near that automatic qualification mark of 83.50.
Disappointment for Kax because he was also just missed out 4 years ago in Berlin by 1 place on the final, and he's not going to be in the final again, but these women are going to be in the women's high jump final. All 13 women going down to Yulia Levchenko, the 2017 World Champs silver medalist. Needed 3 attempts to get over 187. All 13 women who did get over 187 progressed through to the final.
On to our final track race at this morning session in day 5. It's the second heat of the women's 4x4. So Great Britain, Belgium and Poland qualify automatically. Who can join them in the final? Netherlands have got a strong squad on paper. Let's see who they've decided to field in this opening heat. Finland, Pyrrhus, Bass, Pukkanen and Hallinen seeing themselves on the big screen. Switzerland, Lemons, Niedenberg, Farr and King. We go in lane 6. Lane 5 will be Greece. Oliti, Ferrer, Morta and Nafaki. Smart and Wade all round. Slovenia go in lane 4. Led off by Zupin, then onto Simacik, Bogeric, and then Anita Horvat on the final leg. She fell in her 800-meter heat. She's got something to prove, the Slovenian national record holder. Lane 3, Alicia Schmidt, leader runner, so popular in Germany and with this crowd. Mona Meyer will go on the second leg, Vasoli on the third leg, and Luna Thiel will complete their lineup. France go in lane 2. They're sort of the second European team at the World Championships. Lacoste, Scaye and Brossier. Completing the lineup in lane 1 are the Irish quartet of Sophie Becker, Phil Healy, Rashida Adeleki and Charlene Maudsley. There are the Dutch quartet. I missed their names, so just to update you. Boomer will be the lead-off leg runner, and then Lieke Klaver vying for the title of the busiest woman at these European Championships will go on lane 2, and then both De Witt sisters, great to see them here. Struggled with injury, I think, in the last couple of years. Laura De Witt first, and then Lisanne De Witt to complete the lineup.
Set.
First leg underway. As we've said before, this whole leg will be run in lanes. That looks like a fast start for Switzerland. They've opened up a gap over Greece already. You can see the difference in the stagger there. As expected, the Netherlands on the outside going super fast. A graphic revealing that it is Ireland that have had the fastest first 200 metres. Sophie Becker is very good over 200 metres, and she has got the endurance to make it last over 400. But Netherlands out in lane 8 and Ireland on the inside in lane 1, having good runs so far, but Sokna Lacoste of France coming back at the Irish athlete ever so slightly, and Switzerland looking like they're moving through. Long stagger. Let's see who hands that baton over first. It's going to be super tight. Ireland raise it first, hand it over first, and then it is Switzerland and Netherlands. Phil Healy of Ireland on the tight inside lanes. You can see the dangers outside her, and she's gliding past the rest of the athletes. Lieke Klaver of the Netherlands is incredibly quick. Whether it's 200 or 400, she's a formidable competitor, so we'd expect Lieke Klaver to glide past Phil Healy. Let's see who hits that first 200. And it is Lieke Klaver of the Netherlands, so that will mean that her next athlete she's handing over to, Laura De Witt, will be on the inside of the handover lane. So Lieke Klaver should have an easy run here in lane 1. Phil Healy rallying well. bitterly disappointed with her individual showing. This is much better from Ireland's Phil Healy. She's coming under pressure from Switzerland. But Ireland doing well to hold on to third place at the moment. Lika Klaver hands over to Laura de Witt. Swiss team just handing over to Anina Farr first. They're in second place at the moment, but it is Rashida Adeleke, fifth place individual athlete for Ireland with a new Irish record, who's already gliding past the Swiss team into second place. Tall Adeleke doing everything she can to eat up the ground on Laura de Witt ahead of her. Laura de Witt holds the lead through 200. That will keep the Netherlands on the tight inside line, the shortest route. All the other teams are going to have to battle behind. Rashida Adeleke doing everything she can to give the Charlene Maudsley of Ireland a fighting chance in the closing leg. Adeleke with a brilliant leg for Ireland is pulling them into the lead, striding away from Laura de Witt. Laura de Witt coming under pressure from Farr of Switzerland. It's going to be Ireland first. Charlene Maudsley goes off in the lead. Switzerland in second with Sarah King, and Netherlands Lisanne de Witt giving chase. Host nation Germany in third at the moment. Can they do anything to get back on terms with these athletes? Luna Thiel in fourth place, out of the automatic qualifying spots, chasing hard down the back straight. Lisanne de Witt swinging wide on the home straight, on the back straight, trying to get herself ahead of King to give herself a shot at second place in a short inside line. But it is Charlene Maudsley of Ireland striding away with the win. They've got 30 or 40 metres over the rest of the athletes. It's a brilliant run from the Irish quartet. Netherlands look strong in the last 60, 70 metres. Lisanne de Witt looking brilliant as she strides away for second place. Swiss team doing well to hold off a fast-finishing German quartet. And Lisanne de Witt catching Charlene Maudsley in the closing stages. I think Charlene Maudsley probably thought she was home and dry, and Lisanne de Witt carrying so much momentum. That will give them a very handy lane in the final. The Dutch quartet, if you've got a good lane and you've got good runners in the first few legs and you can get yourself out of trouble, that could be significant. The Netherlands versus Poland versus Great Britain could be a fascinating battle.
Yeah, and delightful, particularly for Lisanne de Witt, who was the bronze medalist 4 years ago. As you said, she's struggled a little bit with injuries over the last few years. I believe it's the plan actually for her to come in for the final at the World Championships, but the Netherlands didn't qualify, frustratingly for her, and so that was the end of her competition. But Ireland, fantastic, really inspiring, I'm sure, with Adeleke setting that national record in her final, really buoyed the quartet on. And Phil Healy, as you said, kind of the opposite for her, trying to get through to that final after disappointing individually. She said she didn't come all the way to Munich to run her worst race of the season. Switzerland making it through in third, and just having a look at those times coming up, looks like the Czech Republic and Spain are faster.
Wonderful, emotive response there from the Czech Republic and Spain. Delighted to make the final. German quartet, good season's best, but not quite enough to make it in. It was a really brave last couple of legs from the German quartet. But the Netherlands, when you think they're missing Femke Bol, Great Britain were missing a couple of their top competitors. Poland got Anna Kiel-Basinska to bring in, and Bamgert Witten. Really tough one to call. Lika Klaver, 2 individual events, and now in the heats of the 4x4. Femke Bol super busy as well. Ugh, too close to call between all those teams.
Well, I think the Netherlands might just have the edge if Femke Bol has got anything left in her legs, of course. So she's going to have been running 4 races already in the individual 400 and then over the barriers. The Dutch have got great backup runners as well, as you talk about, Lika Klaver and the de Witts as well, so that's a great quartet. I think the Poles are going to have to raise their game, as I said. I think they're just a little bit below their very best. If I was a betting person, I'd put a little bit of money on the Dutch. Also, big surprise for me, not seeing Germany or France in the final. That's a big turn-up, I think. So there we see. Once again, confirmation of the results. Netherlands, Ireland, Switzerland. And a big shout out for Phil Healy on that second leg for Ireland. That was an absolutely terrific run from Phil Healy. Alex was talking about the fact that she did underperform in her individual 400 metres, but came back with aplomb to really bolster the team. And it was her that was really so crucial in propelling Ireland into the final. Germans, well, left to have a bit of a post-mortem about what went wrong with their team.
It's going to be, I think.
However, Germany has had so much success. Come on, Germany, give the rest of the continent a bit of a chance.
You're right, Phil. They've had a smashing day.
Crucially, though, I spotted that when Laura de Witt finished her leg, she did impede the German runner who had to go into lane 2 or possibly lane 3 around her. So maybe we'll see another replay of that, but just watch out for that.
Ooh, well done, Alex. I didn't spot that. That could be very, very important.
There we can see, heartbreak. I thought that Czech team looked a little bit less happy than they were when the times clocked up on the screen. I don't know if that replay's gone out on the big screen, but I think that will be disqualified with that lane infringement, and that will see the Germans into the final. That's why they're smiling, and they've lost the smiles of the Czech team.
Time for a few conspiracy theories, perhaps. No, I'm sure not.
Comment.
No, we saw it on the replay. I think that was quite a legitimate disqualification.
Mardare, the Moldovan here, trying to make it through to the final. So 75-13 so far, and that is much better. So last round effort, we haven't missed any major throws. It's still those two athletes over 80 meters, Jakub Vadlec and Julian Weber. And 77-20 needed to make it through to that final. Last few throws here, Mardare. And that looks good. So 78 meters and 78 centimeters. That's 4th in this group. And that looks good with 6 overall across the 2 pools.
And indeed, Vadlec has passed his final round. He knows he's qualified.
Summary of the qualification into the final: Great Britain and Northern Ireland, bronze medal winning team at the World Champs, unsurprisingly topping the table there. And that disqualification for the Czech Republic for a lane infringement sees the host nation Germany into the final.
Shout out for Aino Pulkkinen of Finland, because she was actually in both relays there. Or I wonder what point Finland's baton mishap happened and whether she ended up significantly less tired than she would have been. Samuelsson of Sweden then, he's trying to make it through to this javelin final. Let's see, well, 2 fouls so far, 77 meters needed, and that is not going to be enough. Tough situation there. Well, had to go for it to try and get a place in the final, and 70 meters 39 only for the Swede. So difficult situation for all of these athletes. Actually very closely matched. If we look, 77-20 is the 12th spot, and 7th is 77-68. So just 48 centimeters separating 6 competitors. But a number of athletes opting to pass, knowing that even though they are some few meters off the automatic qualification mark, they still have done enough. The High Society of France. So 2 meters, 80 centimeters he needs to improve by. Again, struggling a little off to the right-hand side. Jakub Vadlec, part of this second group, but only needed that one effort of 81-81, standing him in good stead in the final. So we've had our relay heats, 4x1s and 4x4. There is another matter to tidy up in a moment, which will be Turkey rerunning their leg, and their run after they were impeded in their initial heat. But first of all, let's catch up with the javelin overall standings. So 3 goes each for this men. And Jakub Vadlec, best overall. And these are some of the competitors who didn't make it, and they include the defending champion, Thomas Vetter. Low expectations for him, only 72 meters this year, but a shame to see his decline following surgery, and not getting back to his best form is a shame to see. So 24 competitors, of course 12 advancing to that javelin final. Watched on, of course, by the world record holder Jan Zelezny, who's here looking after the Czechs, and he should be pretty pleased with how they've done in these difficult conditions. Vadlec and Vesely and Konechny all making it through to that men's final. So this leaves us now with this battle to settle regarding Turkey.
So we did think, well, according to the original schedule, we should have finished with the women's 4x400 heats, but we are going to see the Turkish 4x1 men's team have a rerun. They appealed the initial result. They said they were impeded by the Finnish team, and that means they get to rerun, and they're going to try and get one of the non-automatic qualifying times. Belgium, the fastest of the non-automatic qualifiers, with 38.72. And it's the Italian squad, 39.02. So if Turkey do indeed get into the final, they're going to need to run faster than the Italian squad, at least, with that 39.02. That would be a shock to see the Olympic champions knocked out in such fashion. But the officials agreeing with the Turkish athletes that they have got the right to rerun. The squad of Barnes, Harvey, and Ozkan will run at 12:30 local time. Most of the fans making their way out. There's been a persistent drizzle, as we had last night here this morning in Munich. So here is a look at the Turkish team coming into their final handover here, and they feel that they can see quite unwittingly, it wasn't on purpose, the Finnish team there just swinging wide. So apologies, that's the first handover. You see the Turkish athlete really unhappy, turning back around saying, are you aware you just hit me midair? And it does totally take Barnes off his stride there, and that will have slowed them down. They did manage somehow. Oh, it was a legal handover. And then the second leg runner, I think that might be Jack Ali Harvey, drifted out of his lane as well. You see the first leg runner, his momentum knocked, his speed killed there. And the Turkish athletes, bronze medal in Berlin a few years ago, was a silver. They do deserve to be in the final. So they're saying there, please just give us another go, and they are going to get that in around about 20 minutes time.
Yeah, it was a silver in fact, so the same quartet will go again, as you said, in 23 minutes time. So I think just until shortly before then, we may indeed take a bit of a break from Coventry until we are ready to get going again.
Çık sen bak, biniyorum, tamam mı? Hiç bakma. Çünkü burada biniyorum, ileride binmeyeceğim. Ama sen çık. Kim bekliyor?
Hocam bana yardım eder misin?
Diğer turu nereden bulacağız? Tur.
Yok mu senden?
Bir
Oradan
tane daha
bırak.
olması lazım. Burada yok.
Tamam. İkinci taraf. Bu taraf. Herkesin tur var mı tur?
Please follow me.
So you join us for the unexpected conclusion, shall we say, of this morning's session, the European Athletics Championships. You can see here Finland judged to have impeded Turkey, the outgoing Finnish runner. Second leg, accidentally knocking the arm of the Turkish lead-off man as he was approaching that changeover. So Turkey, they'll go in the same lane again and with the same quartet as well. As we see just another angle. So you've got Finland in lane 2 and Turkey in lane 3. And so it was in the build-up to the changeover there where they were judged to be impeding. So video evidence was looked at and protest was made, and Turkey have this chance to make it in. So what do they need to do? Well, we already know that 7 teams have qualified, but there's this target time of 39.02. That was the time that was run by the Italians in the second heat, and they finished in 5th place.
So the Turkish quartet just putting down their changeover marks. They don't want to get disqualified, especially as they're running on their own. You can imagine the judges looking at them very closely.
Yeah, I have seen that before though, and it's particularly embarrassing. But yeah, so we've got 2 of the quartet that ran when they won the silver medal in Berlin 4 years ago. So here we are, Turkey in this race that we didn't expect to have, but the second of these championships where we've seen a solo rerun with Artur Abele reinstated in the decathlon after initially a false start given in the sprint hurdles. That had rather more of spectator interest, didn't it, considering the fact that he was a home hero?
Yes, I still have difficulty. I've looked at it a couple of times to see how he managed to get reinstated, but I'll leave that to the judges. I thought it was a fairly clear disqualification, but then the judges said there was no clear evidence that he had broken contact with the pad. So anyway, this was a lot clearer, a lot more indisputable, and the Turks do get a second opportunity to try and make the 4x100 meters final.
Yes, so it'll be Emre Zafer Barnes, Jacques Ali Harvey. So they were the 2 that were part of that quartet. No Ramil Guliev, who of course was the 200 champion 4 years ago and world champion in 2017 in London. Kayhan Özer and Emre Özkan looking for 39.02 or better. So we saw a couple of minutes ago actually there was a downpour of rain which didn't help. It's just starting to dry out at the moment. I mean, still this is a difficult task, isn't it, Phil?
It is, it's very difficult. I mean, the conditions, of course, but I have to say, if anything, it's actually drying out very, very quickly, and in the last few minutes it's almost noticeably increased in temperature by a couple of degrees. So even though they've got the very difficult task of running on their own, the conditions have certainly improved quite considerably from when the heat was originally run this morning, when it was very damp and quite chilly, and we were all sitting here, if not quite shivering, but they were contemplating putting on a sweater. So the Turks out there. There's still a scattering of spectators here who want to catch every minute of this Munich 2022 European Athletics Championships. And of course, recently announced, we will be off to Rome in 2 years' time, when it will be the earliest ever European Athletics Championships ever held. It'll be in the middle of June. It's one of the key stepping stones for European athletes to go on to the Olympics in Paris a little bit later on that summer. And of course the Italians all want to do well here so that they can go and defend titles in front of their home crowd. European athletics, of course, has adopted what has now become the standard of allowing defending champions to go into the following event.
Anxious watch on for the Turkish contingent inside this stadium as we wait for this race to get underway, scheduled to do so in 5 minutes' time, I make it, but maybe they're going to go off early. So we have got all the athletes out there waiting.
And of course we will be off to Turkey next March for the European Athletics Indoor Championships. I'm looking forward to going back to Istanbul. I was there in 2012 when we had the World Indoor Championships there, and it's a superb arena, the Akkoy Arena.
Difficult in a way to recapture the same sort of competitive environment when you've just got one team on their own, isn't it? For the athletes involved to really focus in the zone, you don't have those around you. It can sometimes be a little bit more tricky. It's more like a training run.
Yeah, I've seen a few reruns over the years, and I'm struggling to remember a team that's actually got through one of them. You know, you're absolutely right there, Alex, in terms of the motivation has gone, the competitive element has dissolved. Yes, I mean, it's absolutely right that they were awarded a rerun, but the circumstances are very different. Nevertheless, that is quite a talented quartet out there, that's without a doubt. Turkey in recent years have managed to produce some good sprinters, Jack Ali Harvey, Emma Barnes, although perhaps a little bit towards the end of their careers nowadays. Ramil Guliev, 2017 world champion over 200 meters, not quite firing on the same cylinders with the same velocity as he was.
I seem to remember the United States having a rerun at the 2006 Rio Olympics and making it through. These Turkish athletes, they've been out for a few moments, and well, the longer they are out there, the more we might see the sun drying out the track a little bit.
It's drying out very rapidly indeed, you're absolutely right. I mean, it was sodden through most of this morning, and of course last night when we had a rain-delayed start to the evening session. But it's almost perceptible steam rising off the track as the water evaporates. Of course, this has been repaired and resurfaced to make drainage a lot better. The stadium, as we've often mentioned, one of the real historic stadiums around the world. The 1972 Olympics was staged. That was the centerpiece of those Olympics. And then the 2002 European Athletics Championships.
Yeah, so thanks, by the way, to statistician Mark Butler for confirming it was the US women who got into the Rio 2016 Olympic 4x100 meters. After rerun, they had been impeded by Brazil in the heats. Tiana Bartoletta, Alison Felix, English Gardner, and Monoleka Akinoz. And on that occasion, though, they had such quality within the team that really going against a target time of the 8th overall team wasn't maybe as challenging. Of course, these are the silver medalists. So here we go, aiming for 39.02 or better. The Turkish men's 4x1 quartet. Well, I'm sure they'll be grateful for this opportunity. after the protest was successful. Zafir Barnes then on this lead-off leg, handing over to Jack Ali Harvey. Of course, he was DQ'd in the 100 metres individually. So without this, at least a chance. Would have been a really disappointing competition for him. Over to Kayhan Erza. 23 seconds on the clock now. One more change to go. To Ertan Özkan. Fighting now, trying to get to the line before 39.02. And it looks close, my word. Looks like they've done it. Wow. What summoning of strength by the Turkish team. And they know that should put them into the final.
And they managed it despite a less than perfect changeover on that last leg. I think the thanks have to go to Barnes and Harvey on the first two legs. So they actually ran really storming first two legs. Oza and Özkan struggled to connect, but they got the baton through. And in the end, yes, it looks like they've crept into the final by 0.04 of a second, beating the target time set by the Italians. So that eliminates Italy, the Olympic champions, and no opportunity for the 100-metre champion, Lamont Marcel Jacobs, to have another appearance at these championships.
Yeah, I'm sure that will frustrate the Italians. As you said there, they were without Lamont Marcel Jacobs. It was only Lorenzo Pata who was in that Olympic quartet. Filippo Tortu, he's still focusing on the 200-metre individual competition, with the final being tonight.
Well, there's a handful of Turkish fans stayed here all the way through the morning, and there we go. And they're saluting the support who've stood with them through thick and thin. Quite a little story that, having been impeded and then coming back and qualifying.
Yeah, not everyone gets that second chance. Well, I think that's going to be the conclusion of this session, unless we've got any more surprise races up the sleeve.
That's Oza, the third leg runner, cheering his compatriot Özkan.
I remember at the European Under-20 Championships 3 years ago, Turkey didn't make it through. They protested, and then they were advanced, and eventually they took gold in a very competitive final. I just wonder how good this Turkish quartet can be. I think it's going to be tough for them.
You see, that wasn't the best of changeovers either from Harvey. No, it was from Oza to Özkan. He had to look over his shoulder. He wasn't quite sure where the baton was. Nevertheless, there was just the tiniest of margins, just 0.04, and they managed to make it into the final. And Özkan hanging on to the baton. Ran a great last leg, just to keep his focus, keep pounding down the home straight and all the way through the line. Well-deserved celebrations from the Turks. It's going to be a bit of a tall order to make it a fairy tale ending. I don't quite see them in amongst the medals, but who knows? 4x100 metre relays over the years have provided plenty of stories. Whether it's the Italians winning the Olympic title, Great Britain winning the Olympic title in Athens, defeating the hugely favoured American quartet, and some of the great races at the European Athletics Championships. And finally, there we do have the teams that will go through to the final, including, as the fastest non-automatic qualifiers, Belgium, and you've just seen them, Turkey. But at the sharp end, well, I expect the medals to be contested between Germany, France and Great Britain, Northern Ireland. But it's always a question of getting the baton around slickly. All three of those teams have great individual runners, and we expect to see Great Britain and Northern Ireland bring in Zarnell Hughes, the individual silver medalist. But Turkey get their chance to run again. So that brings an end to this morning's session. One of the shorter morning sessions, and indeed the very last morning session that will be in the Olympic Stadium. Tomorrow, the morning session will be out in the city centre with the 20-kilometre race walks. No medals this morning, but we've had 27 gold medals already in the previous 4 days of competition. Germany topping it with 5 gold medals, and no less than 16 countries have struck gold already here in the Bavarian capital, including the likes of Finland, Romania, and then an additional 11 countries have got themselves a medal of a different hue, silver and bronze. There's the medal table from the overall 9-sport multi-sport European Championships. Germany topping it with Germany, but France have actually got more medals. As we scroll through all those countries that have won medals in everything from table tennis to sport climbing, cycling, gymnastics, triathlon. Great panorama of sports here at these multi-sport European Championships. The second edition, after the first edition held 4 years ago in Glasgow in Belgium. In Belgium? In Berlin. And this is what we've got to look forward to tonight. 8 gold medals to be decided, including both men's and women's 200 metres, men's and women's 400 metres hurdles, including Karsten Warholm, Fenke Bol. Plenty of action in the field. Women's 1500 metres. And as we come to an end this morning, it's time for myself, Phil Minshall, and my co-commentators Alex Seftel and Hannah England to say, join us again in about 6 hours' time, 8 hours' time.